Still unfolding 5 years after the devastating dam failures, some FEMA money is finally on its way to Sanford. The village initially applied for the federal funds to rebuild Sanford Park.
That was approved and work on the park began, but then FEMA had questions, putting the money on hold. Now those questions have been answered and the money is on its way.
But that park has already been built. So TV5's James Belton reached out to the village president to see how those funds will be used. James?
Sanford ended up using its own money to rebuild the park, believing that the issues with FEMA would be resolved. They were. Now Sanford is using this money to pay itself back.
We've been without that money, upward $600,000 for all of this time. So we're really excited that we were able to get all the data put together and come to the common understanding with FEMA so that they approved the final payment.
Village of Sanford President Dolores Porty talking about the previously approved Federal Emergency Management Agency funding after the 2020 flood. The FEMA grant would allow Sanford to rebuild the Sanford Park. But when Sanford tried to close out on the grant, FEMA had questions. FEMA wanted to know if there was overlapping of funds or duplication of benefits. Porty says Sanford provided proof that there were no overlapping of funds or duplication of benefits. Porty tells us the money is on its way and will be used to replenish Sanford's account of the money spent to rebuild the village park.
We came into this disaster in the black. So we had money in the bank, but we used up that money to pay for rebuilding the park. So of course that took money out of our coffers. We're still in the black, but it will put us back to whole on our financial situation where it really drained us down, but we did not want to let our local contractors go without payment just because of this issue we were having with FEMA's and getting the understanding between us so that we could get the final payment.
And while those federal dollars are headed to Sanford, they haven't arrived yet.
Our hope, and I'm just going to say it is a hope, that we will have the money in the bank within the next month.
Porty tells me if the money takes longer to arrive, it won't impact the day-to-day operations in Sanford. She also said there are no other major projects tied to federal funding that are planned right now. Back to you.
Thank you, James. Porty also tells us Sanford has access to $100,000 of federal funding that hasn't been spent yet. She says FEMA is working with Sanford to help the village use the money for what it was obligated for.
Over 800 residents in Midland, Saginaw, and Genesee counties have signed a letter asking Governor Whitmer to address what role the state played in the Edenville Dam failure. The letter calls for an act of resolution for when the dam failed back in 2020, causing 10,000 people to evacuate their homes. Over $200 million in damage was caused by the floods. The document includes personal stories detailing the hardships people have faced since the dam's failure. Last week, the village of Sanford received $700,000 in FEMA grants to help rebuild. And tonight, one of the 800 people who signed that document is speaking out. Why they decided to sign on TV5 News at 6.